Hi, this is Ted. Today, you are going to learn how you can be a prophet as good and more accurate than the prophets you see on TV, than the prophets you see on YouTube, than the prophets you hear from when you go to their churches. We're going to learn today from the famous T.B. Joshua. T.B. Joshua just passed away 2 weeks ago, so he's just not going to live as long. He didn't live as long as our famous Kenneth Copeland, who plans on living to be 120 years old. But that's okay, because T.B. Joshua, 10 years ago, this guy, he was the third wealthiest preacher in the fine country. What country is he from anyway? Nigeria. All right, in Nigeria, he's the third wealthiest preacher. In all likelihood, $10 to $15 million he sits upon. Fantastic. This is the stuff prophets are made of. This is what you want. Nothing else matters. Get that money, get that fame. But in order to do so, you've got to be good at making prophecies. So I'm going to give you a few pointers. First of all, you're all going to have a little bit of hindsight bias, and this is okay. What is hindsight bias? This is something that people who predict what's going to be happening in the world of business, and people who predict what's going to be happening in sports, they all make mistakes, and we all do. That's just the way trying to tell the future is all about. You're going to make a mistake. Hindsight bias tends to overlook the mistakes you make, and you focus so much on the successes you have that you tend to think that you are far more accurate than you really are. This is common, but it's okay for you to have this because you can tell everybody. And because they think you are so godly, they're going to believe that you have been near perfect in predicting things. And they will find the few times you perhaps got close. And that's all that matters. All right, so hindsight bias, that's okay to have. Putting hindsight bias a pass, putting hindsight bias in your background and not worrying about it, you can go through the steps that I'm about to give you. First of all, be vague. The more vague you are, the more correct you will be. If you get too specific, it's going to look bad. People are going to see that you weren't right. When a prophet gets up and predicts who's going to be winning the Tonys or some award in Hollywood, you shouldn't do that because you're not going to get it right. So you have to be very vague. For example, T.B. Joshua in the beginning of 2021 claimed that fathers will go. He says, I know two that will pass away from this country. That's beautifully vague. And it's not only vague, but it's going to get into our number 2 pointer. But let me start out by talking about vagueness, because we don't know what fathers we're talking about. This is something you've got to do. For example, I could say today, celebrities are going to die this year. And when they die, I can tell people, look, I prophesied that, and people will be amazed. People will be drawn to what I say. Secondly, this is very much like the vagueness. In fact, I'm going to use the same example. Be ambivalent. Make sure your words and sentences and phrases can have multiple meanings. Who is a father? Why? A father could be a political figure. A father could be a literal father. It could be a religious figure. We don't know. It doesn't matter. Because when something happens, you can now say, look, my prophecy has been fulfilled. So number 1, be vague. Number 2, be ambivalent. You don't have to do both at the same time, but sometimes it helps. Number 3, study the times. Learn what's going on around you. and then make predictions based on what you believe and is almost certain to happen. For example, T.B. Joshua claimed and made a prediction in 2013. He said that a revolution was going to be instigated by Nigerian youths. Why? It doesn't matter that years later, when something like this happens, that the people writing all about this will say, well, anybody could have predicted that. Everything is just already at that point where they're all ready to blow up. You don't have to worry about that. Your followers are going to believe everything you say is totally and completely spot on and exact and from God, because they will read into everything you say what you want them to read into about. Finally, this is most important: damage control. You see, when you make so many predictions, occasionally you will say something that is a little too exact. And when you say something a little too exact, it may not happen. And then you will have damage control. But don't worry, because every good prophet knows how to get out of the dilemma they're faced with. That's right. And I'm going to tell you how to do it. Oh, back a few decades ago in the United States, there was a small group of people who were waiting for aliens to take them out of the world before the aliens destroyed the whole world. And they were told a certain night at 12 o'clock it would happen. It didn't happen at 12 o'clock. Oh, and then they realized, it's 12 o'clock, another time zone. And so they waited for another hour. Again, nothing happened. And they wondered what to do. And fortunately, the leader of the group got a phone call from the aliens. And the aliens said, you were such good people that we decided to save the world, and we don't need to take you with us. And they rejoiced and were happy. And they had a lot of new converts after that who likewise joined their group, happy that the aliens didn't destroy the world because this group was so good. That was good damage control. T.B. Joshua is good with damage control as well. And he teaches us how to and what to do when we got problems like this. Back in 2016, Joshua predicted that Hillary Clinton would be the next president of the United States, but she didn't make it. Ended up going to Trump. But have no worries, because he knew what to say. He said, well, in the United States, there's a popular vote and there's the electoral vote. The electoral vote is more important than the popular vote. Hillary won the popular vote, but did not get the electoral vote. Because of that, Trump became the president. Now, you misunderstood what I said, he told them. You misunderstood what I said because you're not spiritual enough. Blame your audience. Blame everybody else. Never back down. Never, ever say I was wrong. Never, ever say I was a false prophet. No, you don't need to. Just find the right way to protect your image and make yourself look spiritual and everybody else look stupid. Isn't it wonderful? Lessons that we learn from T.B. Joshua. This is Ted. Have a fantastic day.
I want to share with you what I saw 10 days ago. I saw the new president of America. That was 10 days ago. That's why I say I saw. That's 10 days ago, I saw the new president of America with a narrow winning. With a narrow win. With a narrow win. I will just reserve the name for now. Maybe at the end of the day, I will tell you the name. It's here. 10 days ago, I was in the vision. they were telling me that at that 10 days ago, it was man that would have won the election. The Lord said, narrowly, there's a state that enormously 99% vote for this woman. And the woman narrow win. But I saw her facing several challenges over many issues.